The chamber was silent. 12,000 alien beings sat frozen in their seats, their eyes locked on the massive holographic display that dominated the center of the Galactic Council headquarters. Ambassador Thomas Reed stood alone at the human delegation podium, his hands steady despite the terror that filled every other soul in the room. The transmission had arrived 3 minutes ago. 3 minutes that changed everything. On the screen, a fleet stretched across the darkness of space. Ships the size of small moons hung in perfect formation, their weapons glowing with energy that could crack planets in half. The count displayed at the bottom of the screen kept rising. 10 billion. 10 billion warships, each one capable of destroying entire civilizations. High Chancellor Morthax, a towering creature with 6 arms and skin like polished obsidian, rose from his throne at the head of the chamber. His voice trembled as he spoke. The Dominion has returned. Chaos erupted. Delegates screamed. Some wept. Others prayed to gods that had not answered in millennia. Thomas Reed watched them all, with calm gray eyes, saying nothing. The Dominion was supposed to be a legend, a horror story that elder species told their young to frighten them into obedience. They had conquered 3 galaxies before disappearing into the void 6,000 years ago, leaving only ruins and bones in their wake. No one believed they would ever return, not until now. The transmission shifted. A face appeared on the screen, though calling it a face was generous. The Dominion Emperor was a being of pure crystalline energy, ancient beyond measure, powerful beyond comprehension. When he spoke, his voice echoed through dimensions. Children of the Galactic Council, we have returned to claim what is ours. The Emperor paused, and something like amusement flickered through his crystalline form. 6,000 years ago, we visited a small blue world on the edge of your galaxy. Primitive creatures crawled upon its surface, painting on cave walls and worshipping fire. We marked that world for harvest. Now we return to collect. Thomas Reed's jaw tightened. He knew exactly which world the Emperor meant. Humans of Earth, the Emperor continued, his voice dripping with contempt. You have 1 standard cycle to surrender your planet and your species. Comply, and we will grant you quick deaths. Resist, and you will suffer for eternity. The crystalline form leaned closer to whatever device transmitted his image. The Dominion has spoken. The transmission ended. Silence filled the chamber for exactly 3 seconds before the screaming began again. High Chancellor Morthax turned his 6 eyes toward the human delegation. Ambassador Reed, you must understand the severity of this situation. The Dominion conquered 3 galaxies. Your species has existed for barely a cosmic heartbeat. You cannot fight them. No one can fight them. Thomas Reed did not respond immediately. He touched his earpiece, listening to something only he could hear. Then slowly, a smile spread across his face. Ambassador Reed? Morthax bellowed. This is hardly the time for inappropriate emotional responses. Your entire species faces extinction. Forgive me, Chancellor. Thomas straightened his jacket, still smiling. I just received confirmation from Earth. Our response is ready. Your response? A delegate from the Velkari hegemony stood, his serpentine body coiling with disbelief. What response could you possibly offer? You have nothing. Your fleet is pathetic. Your technology is centuries behind ours. You are children playing at civilization. Perhaps. Thomas turned to face the entire chamber. But we are children who have been expecting visitors. He spoke clearly into the chamber's communication system. Patch me through to Earth Defense Command. Authorization Read 9 Alpha Omega. The holographic display flickered, and then a new image appeared, one that made even High Chancellor Morthax gasp. An old woman sat in a garden filled with roses. She wore simple clothes and held a cup of tea in weathered hands. Her white hair was pulled back in a neat bun, and her dark eyes sparkled with intelligence that bordered on dangerous. This was Admiral Rosa Mendez, retired, the most decorated military commander in human history. She had led humanity through 3 major conflicts and never lost a single engagement. At 92 years old, she was still the most terrifying human being alive, and she was smiling. "Ambassador Reed," she said calmly, "I understand we have received a declaration of war." "Yes, Admiral. The Dominion. They want Earth." Rosa Mendez took a sip of her tea. The entire Galactic Council watched in stunned silence as this ancient human woman considered the threat of 10 billion warships with the casual demeanor of someone choosing which flowers to plant. "How delightful," she finally said. "They actually came back." She set down her cup and looked directly into the camera. "Patch me through to the Dominion Emperor. I want to deliver our response personally." The screen split. On one side, the crystalline horror of the Dominion Emperor. On the other, a 92-year-old woman in a garden. "Dominion Emperor," Rosa began pleasantly, "welcome back to our galaxy. I understand you wish to harvest our world." "We do not wish," the Emperor thundered. "We command. We have conquered more worlds than you have words in your primitive language. Your species is nothing but cattle waiting for slaughter." Rosa picked up her tea again. "Here's the thing about cattle, Emperor. Sometimes they have horns." The Emperor laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Horns? You dare threaten us? We marked your pathetic world 6,000 years ago. We left your ancestors crawling in mud. What could you possibly have that frightens the Dominion?" Rosa Mendez smiled. It was not a warm smile. 6,000 years, Emperor. Do you know how long that is for a species like ours? Do you have any idea what we can accomplish when we have something to prepare for?" She leaned forward, and her eyes turned cold. "You left us in mud. You expected to find us still there. But you made a terrible mistake. You gave us 6,000 years to get ready." The screen behind her changed. The garden disappeared, replaced by an image that made the Galactic Council scream. Ships, human ships. Not hundreds, not thousands, not millions, trillions. A fleet so vast it blocked out the light of distant stars. Ships that dwarfed the Dominion Armada like mountains dwarfing grains of sand. Technology that pulsed with energies no species had ever seen. Energies that made council sensors simply shut down in confusion. "We knew you would return," Rosa Mendez said softly. "We have been counting the days. We have been building. We have been waiting." She raised her cup of tea in a mocking toast. "So please, Emperor, declare your war. Invade our galaxy. Try to harvest our world." Her smile widened into something fierce and ancient and utterly without mercy. "We could use the entertainment." The Dominion Emperor's crystalline form flickered. For the first time in a million years, he felt something cold crawl through his ancient consciousness. Fear. The Galactic Council chamber erupted into chaos. Delegates shouted questions. Chancellors demanded explanations. How had humanity built such a fleet? What technology powered those ships? Why had no one known? But Thomas Reed just stood at his podium, watching the panic with calm gray eyes. The war was coming. The war his ancestors had prepared for across 200 generations. And humanity was ready. 3 days had passed since Admiral Rosa Mendez showed the galaxy what humanity had been hiding. 3 days of questions without answers. 3 days of fear mixed with something no species had ever felt toward humans before. Respect. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session in their grand chamber. Representatives from every major civilization filled the crystalline seats, their attention fixed on the human delegation podium where Ambassador Thomas Reed stood alongside a new figure. Dr. Amara Okonkwo was 63 years old. With silver streaks in her dark hair and eyes that had seen secrets buried beneath 1,000 worlds. She was humanity's foremost historian and the leading expert on xenoarchaeology. Today, she would reveal the truth about human history. High Chancellor Morthax leaned forward on his throne. Dr. Okonkwo, the Council demands answers. How did your species build a fleet that vast without anyone noticing? How did you develop technology that our sensors cannot even comprehend? How is this possible? Amara smiled gently. With respect, Chancellor, it is possible because you are not paying attention. None of you were. She touched a control, and the holographic display came to life. It showed an ancient stone monument buried beneath sand. 4,000 years ago, human archaeologists discovered something unusual beneath the Sahara Desert. A beacon of alien origin, placed there by the Dominion during their first visit to Earth. This beacon contained a message. The display shifted to show strange symbols that pulsed with dim light. The message was simple. It said that the Dominion would return in 6,000 years to harvest our world. It listed the size of their fleet, the scope of their empire, and the fate of every species that had resisted them. Morthax scoffed. Your ancestors found this 4,000 years ago? Impossible. Your species was barely civilized then. That is what we wanted everyone to believe. Amara's smile did not waver. The truth is quite different. Human civilization was far more advanced than our public history suggests. We made a collective decision to hide our true capabilities. She pressed another control. The display showed images that made the Council gasp. Blueprints for spacecraft. Equations for faster-than-light travel. Weapon systems that rivaled anything the elder species had developed over millions of years. We achieved functional faster-than-light travel in 1947. The incident at Roswell, New Mexico, was not a crashed alien spacecraft. It was the first successful test of a human FTL drive. The chamber erupted with shocked murmurs. What you call the Cold War between our nations was a carefully orchestrated performance. In reality, the United States and the Soviet Union were secretly collaborating to colonize the galaxy while appearing to be enemies. Every nuclear test was actually a test of dimensional weapons. Every space race was theater. The Velkari delegate hissed with disbelief. You are telling us that your entire modern history was a lie? Not a lie. A disguise. We knew the Dominion would return. We knew that if we revealed ourselves too soon, we would become targets before we were ready. So we hid. We pretended to be primitive. We let the galaxy think we were children still learning to walk. Amara changed the display again. This time it showed a map of the galaxy with thousands of points of light scattered across it. While you watched our public space program struggle to reach our own moon, our real fleets were spreading across 10,000 worlds. While your sensors told you we had no significant technology, we were building weapons that could crack planets and shields that could withstand supernovas. She paused to let this sink in. Every time an alien species visited Earth, we showed them exactly what we wanted them to see. Primitive cities, basic technology, warlike but manageable natives. We played the part of the young species still finding its way. High Chancellor Morthax rose slowly from his throne. This is impossible. Our intelligence networks span the galaxy. How could you hide something this massive? Ambassador Thomas Reed stepped forward. Because we are very, very good at hiding, Chancellor. It is what humans do. When we are weak, we learn to seem weaker. When we are strong, we learn to seem harmless. And when we are ready, we reveal ourselves. Why reveal yourselves now? A delegate asked. Because now we are ready. Thomas turned to face the Emperor's frozen image, still displayed on one screen. The Dominion gave us 6,000 years to prepare. We used every single day. Amara continued her presentation. We discovered something else about ourselves during this time. Something that makes us different from every other species in the galaxy. She showed brain scans, genetic data, and capability assessments. Humans possess what we call intuitive engineering. When we encounter alien technology, we do not just study it. We understand it instinctively. We can look at a device we have never seen before and know immediately how to improve it. That is how you developed so quickly. Morphax whispered. Yes, every piece of alien technology that ever reached Earth, whether crashed ships or ancient artifacts or Dominion beacons, became a stepping stone. We did not just copy what others built. We made it better. Within centuries, we had surpassed species millions of years older than us. The chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. Your ancestors found technology from the Dominion themselves, the Velkari delegate said slowly. And you improved upon it. Correct. Their beacon told us exactly what weapons they used, what shields they relied on, what strategies they employed. We spent 4,000 years developing countermeasures for every single one. Thomas Reed spoke again. The fleet you saw is not our entire military capability. It is simply what we chose to reveal. There is more. Much more. Before anyone could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the chamber. Emergency displays activated across every screen. Dominion scouts. A council officer shouted. They have attacked 3 border stations. Thousands dead. The chamber erupted into panic once again. But Dr. Okonkwo raised her hand for silence. Check your sensors again, she said calmly. The officer frowned, then paled. The scouts. They are gone. Something destroyed them. Something fast, Amara agreed. Something they never saw coming. She touched a final control, and the display showed a schematic that made even the ancient chancellor feel cold. This is Project Prometheus. It is why the Dominion scouts no longer exist. And it is why the Dominion Emperor should be very, very afraid. The schematic showed something impossible. A network that spanned the entire galaxy, hidden in plain sight for thousands of years, waiting for a single command. We did not just build a fleet, Amara said softly. We built a trap, and the Dominion just walked into it. Outside the chamber, in the cold void of space, the Dominion armada was gathering. 10 billion warships, preparing for invasion. They had no idea what was waiting for them. The dimensional rift tore, open like a wound in the fabric of space itself. Through it poured the Dominion armada, 3 billion warships emerging in perfect formation. Their hulls gleamed with crystalline energy, their weapons charged and ready. Their crews eager to begin the harvest. The Dominion Emperor led the fleet personally. His consciousness spread across 1,000 command vessels. After 6,000 years of waiting, after the humiliation of having his scouts destroyed, he would show these humans the true meaning of power. Their target was the Council capital world, home to 500 billion souls, the seat of galactic civilization for 200,000 years. He would burn it to ash and let the screaming of the survivors echo across the stars. On the Council capital, chaos reigned. Ships fled in every direction. Citizens trampled each other trying to reach evacuation vessels. Leaders wept as they watched the approaching fleet on their screens. This was the end. Everyone knew it. Ambassador Thomas Reed stood in the council chamber alongside High Chancellor Morthax, watching the approaching doom with calm eyes. Your fleet, Morthax whispered. Where is your fleet? You showed us trillions of ships. Why are they not here? They are coming, Thomas replied. Be patient, patient. There are 3 billion Dominion warships minutes away from destroying everything. We need your entire armada now. Thomas touched his earpiece. Admiral Mendez, status? The old woman's voice came through clearly, as calm as if she were still sitting in her garden. Response force is en route, Ambassador. We will arrive in approximately 90 seconds. Response force? Morthax grabbed Thomas by the shoulder. What response force? What are you doing? Thomas smiled. Teaching. The Dominion fleet entered weapons range. The Emperor broadcast his voice across all frequencies. Galactic Council. Your defenders have failed you. Your protectors have abandoned you. Today, your civilization dies. Remember this moment in whatever afterlife awaits you. His. Weapons began to charge dot, and then the human fleet arrived. 1,000 ships dropped out of dimensional space in a perfect sphere around the Dominion Armada. Not the trillion-ship fleet the Council had seen. Not even 1,000,000 ships. 1,000. Morthax made a sound like a dying animal. 1,000? Against 3 billion? This is not a defense. This is a sacrifice. The Dominion Emperor laughed, his voice echoing across the void. Is this your great humanity? 1,000 ships? We will destroy them in seconds and continue our harvest. Admiral Rosa Mendez's voice cut through the Emperor's laughter. Then destroy us, Emperor. I am waiting. The Dominion fleet opened fire. 3 billion ships unleashed weapons that could shatter moons, energies that could boil oceans, beams that could pierce the cores of planets. The human ships did not move. They did not raise shields. They simply hung in space as the assault washed over them. And nothing happened. The weapons fire passed through the human vessels as if they were ghosts. No damage, no destruction. Not even a scratch on their hulls. The Emperor's laughter died. What trickery is this? No trickery, Rosa replied. Just technology you cannot understand. Now let me show you ours. The human ships began to glow. Captain Marcus Drake, commanding the lead destroyer, gave a single order. All ships, engage. What happened next would be remembered for millennia. The human vessels moved in ways that defied every law of physics the Council understood. They did not fly through space. They folded it, appearing in one location and then another without crossing the distance between. Dominion targeting systems could not track them. Dominion weapons could not touch them, but human weapons found their targets with perfect precision. Beams of light that existed in dimensions the Dominion had never discovered sliced through their ships, like swords through paper. Shields that had withstood the combined firepower of entire civilizations collapsed in microseconds. Hulls that had never been breached crumbled to dust. Marcus Drake flew his destroyer through the heart of a Dominion battle group. His weapons officer counted the kills. 50 ships destroyed. 100. 200. Keep firing, Marcus ordered. Do not let a single one escape. The battle lasted 11 minutes. When it ended, 2 billion Dominion ships were scattered debris floating through space. The remaining billion fled back through the dimensional rift, their crews screaming in terror, their formations broken, their confidence shattered. The Emperor retreated with them. His crystalline form flickered with emotions he had not felt in 1,000,000 years. Confusion. Shock. Fear. Admiral Mendez opened a channel to the Council capital. Threat neutralized. Apologies for the mess. We will send crews to clean up the debris. High Chancellor Morthax stared at his displays, his 6 arms hanging limp at his sides. How? He whispered. How is this possible? Thomas Reed stood beside him, still smiling. We told you, Chancellor. We had 6,000 years to prepare. Did you think we wasted them? On the bridge of the human flagship, Captain Marcus Drake watched the debris field through his viewport. His weapons officer, Lieutenant Elena Vasquez, approached him cautiously. Sir? We destroyed 2 billion ships in 11 minutes. Is this not a victory? Marcus shook his head slowly. No, Lieutenant. This was a test. A test? What do you mean? Those ships were old. Antiques by Dominion standards. Technology from thousands of years ago. Marcus turned to face her. The Emperor was testing us. He wanted to see what we could do against his outdated fleet. Then the real Dominion Armada is still coming, and it will not be so easy to defeat. Marcus activated his communication system. Admiral Mendez, I am sending you my analysis of the enemy debris. Something is wrong. Rose's voice came back immediately, sharp with concern. Explain. The technology in these ships is primitive compared to what the Dominion records suggest they should have. The Emperor sent his weakest forces against us. He wanted to see our capabilities without risking anything important. Silence stretched across the channel. When Rosa spoke again, her voice was cold. Then he knows what we can do now. He will adapt. Yes, Admiral. And his real fleet, the one that conquered 3 galaxies, has not even entered our space yet. More silence. Then Rosa Mendez laughed softly. Good. I was worried this would be boring. She cut the channel. Marcus Drake turned back to his viewport, watching the stars with ancient eyes. Somewhere beyond the dimensional rift, the Dominion Emperor was planning his next move. He had seen what humanity could do. He would not underestimate them again. The real war was about to begin, and humanity was ready. 2 weeks had passed since the first battle. 2 weeks of uneasy silence. 2 weeks of waiting for the storm that everyone knew was coming. When the Dominion Emperor's transmission arrived, it echoed through every communication system in the galaxy. His crystalline form filled screens on 1 trillion worlds, his voice reaching ears that had never heard anything so cold. Humans of Earth, you surprised us. I admit this freely. Our initial fleet was insufficient to measure your capabilities. A mistake I have now corrected. The transmission shifted to show the dimensional rift expanding. Through it came the true Dominion. Armada. Not 10 billion ships. 1 trillion. Each vessel dwarfed the warships from the first battle. Technology that pulsed with energies drawn from dying stars hummed within their hulls. Weapons capable of unmaking reality itself armed their bows. This was not an invasion fleet. This was an extinction force. You had 6,000 years to prepare, the Emperor continued. We have had 6 million. We conquered 3 galaxies with these ships. We broke civilizations that made your consul look like children playing with toys. His crystalline form blazed with terrible light. Let us see whose preparation was superior. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, hope died. High Chancellor Morthax collapsed into his throne. 1 trillion ships. Even with your technology, even with your hidden fleets. This is impossible. You cannot defeat this. Ambassador Thomas Reed stood at his podium, his face unreadable. He touched his earpiece and spoke quietly. Admiral, it is time. Rosa Mendez's voice came back calm as always. I know. Activate Project Prometheus. Are you certain? Once we begin, there is no stopping it. Thomas. Rosa's voice softened. We have been waiting for this moment for 6,000 years. Our ancestors built this trap generation after generation. They did not know they would never see it spring. They did not know their children would not see it. They built it anyway, because they believed that someday someone would. She paused. Today is that day. Activate Prometheus. Thomas closed his eyes. Authorization read 00 Omega. Project Prometheus is now active. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the stars began to change. Dr. Amara Okonjo had explained Project Prometheus to the Council, but even she had not revealed everything. The truth was too vast, too impossible, too terrifying. 6,000 years ago, when humanity first discovered the Dominion threat, they realized that no fleet, no matter how large, could guarantee victory. So they built something else entirely. They seeded the galaxy itself. Every asteroid belt contained dormant machines. Every nebula hid swarms of microscopic devices. Every star system harbored technology that had been sleeping for millennia, waiting for a single command. Now that command had been given, the fabric of reality began to twist around the Dominion fleet. Space folded in ways that should have been impossible. Ships that were light years apart suddenly occupied the same coordinates and annihilated each other in explosions that outshone supernovas. The Emperor screamed orders to his Ez. Fleet, retreat, scatter, find safety, but there was no safety. Human. Machines activated around every star in the invasion corridor. They created gravitational anomalies that dragged Dominion ships into the hearts of suns. They generated dimensional rifts that transported entire battle groups into the void between galaxies. They unleashed energies that simply erased matter from existence. Captain Marcus Drake watched the destruction from his flagship, his crew silent beside him. The sensors showed numbers that his mind struggled to process. 500 billion Dominion ships destroyed, Lieutenant Vasquez reported, her voice shaking. 700 billion. 900 billion. In less than an hour, Project Prometheus accomplished what no fleet could have achieved in centuries. The Dominion Armada, the force that had conquered 3 galaxies, was reduced to scattered debris and terrified survivors. But the Emperor survived. He always survived. His crystalline form flickered across damaged communication channels as he fled back through the dimensional rift to his throne world. You think you have won? His voice crackled with rage and something deeper. Fear. You think this is over? I am eternal, humans. I have lived for 1,000,000 years. I will rebuild my fleet. I will return. And when I do, I will not rest until your species has been erased from existence. Not just killed, erased. If you never existed at all. The transmission. Cut. Admiral Rosa Mendez listened to the Emperor's words from her garden on Earth. She set down her cup of tea and looked at the roses blooming around her. Thomas, she said quietly, patch me through to the human fleet commanders. Yes, Admiral. Her face appeared on screens across 10,000 ships. Millions of human soldiers looked upon the 92-year-old woman who had led them to this impossible victory. The Dominion Armada is destroyed, she began. But the war is not over. The Emperor has retreated to his throne world in the Dominion home galaxy. He has sworn to rebuild, to return, to erase us from existence. She paused, letting her words sink in. For 6,000 years, our ancestors prepared for this fight. They built weapons. They hid fleets. They created Project Prometheus. They did everything possible to ensure that when the Dominion returned, we would be ready to defend ourselves. Her eyes hardened. But defense was never the goal. Our ancestors did not prepare for 6,000 years just to survive. They prepared to end this threat permanently. She rose from her chair, standing tall despite her age. The Dominion has attacked humanity twice. There will not be a third time. Fleet commanders, set course for the dimensional rift. We are not going to wait for the Emperor to rebuild. Captain Marcus Drake felt his heart pound as the orders sank in. We are going to his throne world. We are going to end this. Not as defenders. Admiral Rosa Mendez smiled, and it was the smile of a predator finally released from its cage. As conquerors. The human fleet gathered at the dimensional rift. 2 trillion ships, crewed by beings whose ancestors had waited 60 centuries for this moment. They were not going to defend anymore. They were going to invade. The human fleet emerged from the dimensional rift into Dominion space. 2 trillion ships spread across the void, like an ocean of steel and light, their weapons charged, their crews ready. For 6,000 years, humanity had prepared to defend their world. Now, for the first time, they had come to conquer someone else's. Captain Marcus Drake stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the viewscreen. The Dominion throne world hung before them, a massive planet covered in crystalline structures that had stood for millions of years. Once, it had been the seat of an empire that spanned 3 galaxies. Now it was surrounded. Admiral, Rosa Mendez's voice echoed through every ship in the fleet. All vessels hold position. Do not fire unless fired upon. I want the Emperor to see exactly what is coming for him. Marcus felt the tension on his bridge. Every officer wanted to attack. Every soldier wanted revenge for the billions the Dominion had killed over millions of years. But they held. They waited because Admiral Mendez had given an order. A communication signal flashed across the displays. Lieutenant Vasquez's eyes widened. Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the throne world. The Emperor wants to negotiate. Marcus frowned. Negotiate? After everything? He is requesting a meeting. Neutral ground. Both sides unarmed. Admiral Mendez's voice cut through. I will take this meeting myself. Admiral, Marcus protested, this could be a trap. If the Emperor wanted to trap us, Captain, he would not have asked for a meeting. He would have attacked. Rosa's voice carried something Marcus had never heard before. Curiosity. Something has changed. I want to know what. 1 hour later, 2 vessels met in the space between the human fleet and the Dominion throne world. A simple human shuttle and a Dominion diplomatic craft, both stripped of weapons. Rosa Mendez walked alone into the meeting chamber. Across from her, the Dominion Emperor's crystalline form flickered weakly. He seemed diminished somehow, smaller, less terrible. Admiral Mendez. His voice no longer echoed through dimensions. It was simply a voice. Thank you for meeting with me. Rosa sat across from him, her ancient eyes studying his crystalline face. I did not come here to be thanked, Emperor. I came here to end a war. Yes. The Emperor's form flickered again. That is why I asked for this meeting. I wish to surrender. Rosa showed no surprise. You surrendered your fleet when we destroyed it. What more do you have to offer? Everything. The Emperor's voice trembled. My empire. My technology. My worlds. My knowledge. Everything the Dominion has accumulated over 6 million years. All of it given freely to humanity. And what do you want in exchange? The Emperor was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was barely a whisper. Mercy. Rosa leaned back in her chair. Whatever she had expected from this meeting, it was not this. You have conquered 3 galaxies, she said slowly. You have exterminated countless species. You have caused suffering beyond measurement. And now you ask for mercy? I do. The Emperor's crystalline form pulsed with emotions Rosa could not identify. I have lived for 1,000,000 years, Admiral. I have seen civilizations rise and fall like waves upon a shore. I thought I understood power. I thought I understood what it meant to be unstoppable. He paused. I was wrong. Rosa waited. 6,000 years ago, when we first visited your world, we scanned your species. We saw something in human minds that we had never encountered before. A creativity, an adaptability, a stubborn refusal to accept limits that no other species possessed. His form flickered violently. We were afraid. For the first time in our existence, we felt fear. We marked your world for destruction, hoping to eliminate you before you could become a threat. But you did not destroy us then, Rosa observed. We tried. The Emperor's voice carried ancient frustration. 3 times we sent extermination fleets. 3 times, something went wrong. Navigation errors, equipment failures, crew deaths. We thought it was coincidence. He looked directly at Rosa. Now I wonder if the universe itself was protecting you. Rosa considered this. Perhaps it was. Or perhaps you simply underestimated us. Perhaps both. The Emperor's form seemed to sag. You are what we feared you would become, Admiral. You have surpassed us in every way. Your technology exceeds ours. Your numbers exceed ours. Your determination exceeds ours. He made a sound that might have been a sigh. I have fought many species across many galaxies. None have ever defeated us completely. But you do not simply defeat your enemies. You absorb them. You learn from them. You make them part of yourselves. Rosa nodded slowly. That is true. Then absorb us. The Emperor's voice became pleading. Learn from us. Make us part of your civilization. Let our history survive, even if only in your museums. Let our people live, even if only as subjects of your empire. He raised his crystalline hands in supplication. I do not ask for forgiveness. I know I do not deserve it. I ask only that you do not erase us completely. Let something of what we were remain. Rosa Mendez sat in silence for a long time. She thought of her grandparents, who had dedicated their lives to preparing for this war. She thought of the billions who had died in Dominion, attacks across millennia. She thought of 6,000 years of fear and preparation. And she thought of what humanity truly represented. She touched her communication device. Thomas, are you watching this? Ambassador Reed's voice came through clearly. Yes, Admiral. The Council is watching too. Every species in the galaxy is waiting to see what you will decide. Rosa looked at the Emperor. She saw a being who had caused immeasurable suffering. She saw a monster who deserved destruction. But she also saw something else. She saw a chance. We did not prepare for 6,000 years just to become you, she said softly. We prepared to become something better. She stood and faced the Emperor directly. The Dominion will surrender unconditionally. Your empire will be dissolved. Your military will be disbanded. Your technology will be shared with the Galactic Council under human supervision. The Emperor nodded, defeated. But your people will live. Your history will be preserved. You will be confined to a single world, your powers limited, your empire ended. But you will not be erased. She paused. Because that is what makes us human, Emperor. We build. We adapt. We survive. And yes, we fight when we must. But we also forgive. Even our oldest enemies. Because mercy is not weakness. It is the ultimate expression of strength. The Emperor's crystalline form flickered with something new. Something he had not felt in a million years. Hope. 6 months later, the galaxy had changed. Human ships patrolled alongside former Dominion vessels. Council species walked among humans as equals and friends. The fear was gone, replaced by something new. Unity. Captain Marcus Drake stood at a monument in the Sahara Desert, where the Dominion beacon had first been discovered. Names covered its surface, listing every human who had contributed to the preparation across 200 generations. His grandmother's name was there. So was his. He added one more word to the base of the monument. Not a name. A species. Dominion. Because they were part of humanity's story now. Part of what had made humanity what it was. In her garden on Earth, Admiral Rosa Mendez sat among her roses. A young Dominion child brought her tea, one of thousands of refugees who had found homes among humans. Admiral, the child asked, why did humans laugh when my people declared war? Rosa smiled and took a sip of her tea. Because, little one, we knew something your emperor did not. 6,000 years is a very long time. Long enough to become strong. Long enough to prepare. but also long enough to learn that true strength is not about destroying your enemies. She set down her cup. It is about choosing not to, even when you can. The child thought about this for a moment. Then she laughed, a pure and innocent sound that echoed across the garden, and somewhere across the galaxy. In his confinement on the Dominion homeworld, the Emperor heard that laughter echoing through the quantum frequencies. For the first time in 1,000,000 years, he laughed too, because he finally understood that true power was not the ability to destroy. True power was the choice to show mercy, and humanity had that power in abundance.